Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Friday, the 30th of January, 2026. And of course, we are on 101.1 FM radio. We also on our Facebook page. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. The number to call and tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also reach us on our WhatsApp number, that is 284-6001. I look back in time on this day in the year 1661. Oliver Cromwell, Lord Protector of the Commonwealth of England, was ritually executed after having been dead already for 2 years. In the year 1815, the burned U.S. Library of Congress reestablished with Thomas Jefferson's 6,500 volumes of his own personal library. 1889, on this day, the Archduke Crown Prince Rudolph of Austria, heir to the Austro-Hungarian crown, was found dead with his mistress, Baroness Mary Vestera, in Meyerling in an apparent suicide pact. 1902, on this day, Britain and Japan signed a treaty after months of negotiating, which committed each country to supporting an independent China and Korea, although it acknowledged Japan's special interest in Korea. 1933, on this day, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf Hitler as Reich Chancellor of Germany, who formed a government with Franz von Papen. In the year 1939, more, Hitlerian new history, Adolf Hitler threatened Jews during his speech to the German Reichstag. 1948, on this day, January the 30th, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated in the garden of the New Delhi home he was visiting by Hindu extremist Nathuram Godse. 1965, on this day, the state funeral for Winston Churchill at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. At the time, it was the world's largest ever state funeral. And in 1927, on this day, it was known as Bloody Sunday. 27 unarmed civilians were shot, 14 killed by the British Army during a civil rights march in Derry, Northern Ireland. The highest death toll from a single shooting incident during the Troubles. And in 1994, some sports history. Kapil Dev took 2 for 41 as India beat Sri Lanka by an innings and 95 runs in the second test in Bengaluru, and equals Sir Richard Hadley's world record of 431 wickets. We now head to our dish of the day.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
Welcome back to our lunchroom program for this Friday, and we do hope that everybody's having a good one. Of course, quite a little bit of rain here in St. Lucia, and certainly welcome rain, I would say, for the island's water sector, and certainly a sector that has been under tremendous strain and pressure for some time now. The issue of water security has certainly become very topical. And the reality, of course, is that we are living within a period of climate change that is certainly challenging many places around the world in terms of water. And Africa, a very interesting continent. It's the continent that effectively straddles the equator, and as a result of that, it's a north-south continent. as opposed to many of the other continents that are around the world, and so it has some very varied climatic regions, and many of these regions are experiencing the impact of desertification, the impact of droughts, and we quite often have seen images, unfortunate images of the impacts of drought in Africa. But drought is certainly an issue that many parts of the world have had to deal with. But in Africa, the extremes are very real. And the Sahel region, this band that effectively goes uh, across Africa, from Mauritania right across to Eritrea and Ethiopia and Somalia. Very, very dry region, and a region that's facing the impact of desertification and intense issues in terms of rainfall and the loss of rainfall. And but it's not the only area, and even in regions like South Africa, for example, find themselves in water crises at this time, tremendous challenges in terms of being able to support both the population centers as well as agricultural areas. And so there had been a prediction for quite some time, some time ago, that the world in the 21st century would see water wars. And these are not wars fought with water guns and super soakers and that sort of thing. These would be wars fought over access to water. We have seen the potential for some conflicts already rising. And the Nile River, again, that great African river, one of the longest, certainly, in the world, which takes water from that Great Lakes region and Lake Victoria in the center of Africa and brings it all the way down into the Mediterranean. That river has been sought as a source of water for quite some time. And of course, we know of the great civilization of Egypt, of Kemet, that was really dependent on this lifeline for sustenance and and really an entire one of the most well-known civilizations of the world developed along that river. The country that, of course, was very much front and center in terms of trying to maximize on it early on was that of Egypt. And they, of course, understood the challenges of water scarcity and the value of that Nile River. And of course, many years ago, embarked on efforts at capturing that water. And of course, they created a Lake Nasser, named after one of their presidents, to in fact be able to secure and to have better water security. But now you have countries like Ethiopia getting into the mix, and they're looking at their own interests as well within the Nile, being one of the source countries for the Nile. And they're higher upstream, much, much higher upstream, and upriver, if you prefer. And they, of course, are looking at the Nile not just as a source for irrigation and providing drinking water to the population, but also as a means of electricity generation, hydropower. And of course, that has implications downstream for Egypt. And so the possibility, the issues there are quite apparent in terms of what may happen, and agreeing as to how all countries that share that resource must cooperate. You also have similar situations in respect of China and India. And China as well has, in some measure, of course, the massive Tibetan plateau. They share that with the likes of India, Nepal, and Bhutan. And so some of the sources of rivers that eventually flow into India and Bangladesh actually come from China. And China, of course, on its massive growth agenda, is looking for energy. China is one of the leading, you name the technology, and China is likely to be the world leader in its use at this point in time. Whether it's solar, whether it's wind, they're leading the world in terms of generation from those renewable energy sources. And they also, of course, are looking at the matter of hydroelectricity. They made a significant investment in many, many dams all around China. Most famously, the Three Gorges Dam, a significant piece of infrastructure. That was, of course, not just about um, taming the Yangtze River and the impact of flooding downstream on the plains of coastal China, but certainly all about the matter of getting more energy. And they too are exploring other areas for doing just that, and other rivers where they can, in fact, generate hydroelectricity. In fact, that region has um, some of the greatest hydroelectric potential in the world because of the massive change in elevation coming down from these Himalayan mountains and the Tibetan plateau down into the flat. Very, very relatively steep gradients, and it really is great for hydroelectricity. And so they are trying to do just that, but it has implications downstream in regions like Bangladesh and in India in terms of their own water security. So countries around the world are having to grapple with this type of reality as we are looking to utilize water for a lot of different purposes. And so, of course, right here in St. Lucia, we and the region of the Caribbean has also been one of the regions that's been pointed out as being at risk for desertification. We kind of find ourselves right in that band, in the latitudes that quite often have a lot of dry regions and a lot of regions that maybe where you have deserts as well. In fact, we do find ourselves, we look at where we are positioned. If you continue east along that latitude, you end up into the Sahel region of Africa. You end up into very dry regions like Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Oman. That's where you'd end up along our latitudes. So we've, of course, however, have been blessed because we get the trade winds, we get the lots of water coming off from the Atlantic, and it's laden with water usually and moisture, and our geography helps in terms of giving us some good rainfall. And of course, as a result of that, we've been blessed with tropical rainforests, and we appear to be very lush. But even within our very small region, you can find very different microclimates, very dry regions that exist not too far away from us in the ABC Islands, for example. You're pretty much into very arid desert-like conditions. And so it is something that we have to be very mindful of in terms of our water security, the importance of protecting our rainforests, protecting these hillsides to ensure that, in fact, that they can continue to capture that rainfall is certainly very important, and also to be able to control, to create that sponge effect, that water does not just simply rapidly go into the sea or dissipate as a result of transevaporation. So our management of the environment, it has to play a very key role in our water security. The most of the systems that we have, of course, are dependent on surface water. And thankfully, we've had fairly good supplies of surface water. And we have not had to go the route, for the most part, compared to the islands up in the leewards, which have had to look at, desalination. Desalination, of course, is still a much more expensive proposition because it requires energy. Even with new technologies, it still certainly requires a lot more energy, a lot more filtration. And so you have greater maintenance costs invariably in terms of supply there. That said, of course, the other side to that is that water, getting water to your tap requires a tremendously long system, and the transmission of that water, which is coming in many instances for people in the north, in the interior of the island, on the Roseau River or the Vanna River, and to bring that resource up to the north of the island, over hills, over elevated areas, that requires energy as well. And so it is certainly a task, and our system and how it's designed is really challenged then to be able to get to some of these high elevations. Now, the ability for civilizations to be able to provide water to their people has certainly made the difference between whether they have flourished or whether they have floundered. And we've seen it. I mean, in the case of Rome, for example, you saw these massive aqueduct systems that still exist to this day, trying to take water and to ensure that it's all gravity fed to wherever it's headed, and massive investments in these areas. Water investments are foundational to a country. They're not often appreciated, but we certainly appreciate it when the tap is not running. And so the need to prioritize the investment in water is certainly going to be a major one that the country has to look at. Quite recently, the Prime Minister at a pre-cabinet press briefing made mention of the extent of investment that has to be put into the water sector. And I think he quoted a figure of about $200 million. That does not even capture major capital investments that have been touted in the past. Like, for example, the proposal for a dam to serve the south of the island. There had been quite a number of studies looking at that over the years. And the most recent one, which was, I think, almost 25 years old now, proposed the construction of a dam along the Trumasse River. Now, I'm speaking about a feasibility study that was done in around 2000. Now, a lot of that since then, we've seen the issues in terms of the flows along some of these rivers. And so it's even challenging in that respect now, right? But that was the proposal. And at that time, the estimate for building that dam, as well as putting in the necessary transmission and treatment facilities, as well as distribution for that facility, was somewhere in the region of $200 million. And of course, the thinking was that it would supply populations from Dennery all the way through Vieux-Fort up to Choiseul. That was the catchment, effectively, service catchment that they were actually looking at providing service to. And it is certainly very important if we are to be thinking about spreading economic development and economic growth, if we are to be thinking about development along the east coast of the island, in places like Dennery, in places like Micoud, in VA4, of course, where we have seen so many promised projects, but many of these projects, in fact, have not gotten off the ground because people have to think about, well, the issue of how do they actually get a reliable source of water. And so the extent of investment that is needed in the water sector moving forward is a significant and a tremendous one. As a country, we have to be thinking about it. We certainly cannot have really an economy without water. As simple as it as a resource as it may appear to be, it is certainly a must have. And we certainly as a country have to be thinking about how to be able to provide that resource, because it is necessary not only for our direct domestic requirements, but it is necessary for economic growth moving forward. So how we utilize that resource is going to be very important moving forward. How we ensure that we have good water conservation practices from the ridge to our tap to make sure that we are protecting water at the source, but also ensuring that we're not wasting it as well when it gets on the way to our homes, and when it actually gets into our homes, that we are using it prudently. Of course, the matter of uh, rethinking the dependence on the utility is also another major shift that may very well have to come. Now, in many other places in the Caribbean, especially in the Leewards, and certainly even further afield in island states like Bermuda, the idea of your roof being your catchment is very much commonplace. And of course, in Bermuda, they take it very seriously. All the roofs are designed with that in mind. The material that is used, of course, is all about trying to reduce on impurities in the water. Because, of course, if we are speaking about rainwater harvesting, you've got to look at, well, where is that point of contact, and how is that going to be a good material? Now, of course, even once you have it, you're still going to have to do some level of filtration. You've got to have ensure that the storage that you're putting it in as well is secure, that you're not getting vermin and frogs and other things getting inside of the storage for that water. So there's, of course, a lot of good care that has to come into rainwater harvesting as well. But it certainly is, in principle, a good idea, because you are effectively looking at reducing on the demand that is coming from the utility. So in like measure, where we right now everybody's speaking about solar PV and wanting to get maybe a system on their home, on their roof. The roof can be providing your energy, but it can also be providing your water. And so that thinking certainly is something that we certainly need to be considering. And of course, you can have other, depending on where you live, your catchment could be more than your roof, but it's certainly a very good place to start. And so reducing on that demand and ensuring that you also have a backup is the same principle. It's the same principle being applied. So it's distributed water resources, and we have lots and lots of water that's actually landing on our roofs and in all other parts of St. Lucia. It is a resource that has to be looked into. It of course means that when we're looking at especially new construction, should we not be mandating that new construction is in fact taking on this push towards ensuring that rainwater is being harvested, is being stored, so that we can in fact reduce on what the utility company has to actually provide to these customers. There are some people in St. Lucia who have never been paying a Wasco bill. They've been completely off the tap, off grid, if you prefer, from the water utility, and they've been able to do so because they've been able to capture their water. And some people have done that because it's just simply maybe where they live. They may be on an elevated area. The water supply is just not reliable, and it's something that they've decided that, hey, this is a better option for us, and so it is an option that certainly can apply to many other areas and people around the island. And you'd be surprised to know that on average, most places in St. Lucia will get at least a meter of rainfall per year. And in other areas that, of course, have a lot of rainfall, it's going to be even more than that, certainly. Places like Castries and Bexar are getting a far more than that in a year. How much of that is being captured? That's a lot of water. Those are thousands of gallons of water falling on an average roof in St. Lucia every single year. And effectively, it's going down the guttering and it's heading into a drain somewhere, heading into the sea. And we certainly have to be thinking about making that shift when it comes to our own water security as we move forward. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're taking our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive. In Island style.
We have times and insets, mixes and grow. Everything you need is on the outside. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewport Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what, of course, to the 1.1. It's now time for the weather report. Actually, the weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east and east-southeast near 21 miles per hour or 33 kilometers per hour. The weather generally cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers. And there is an advisory in the air which reads small craft operators and sea beavers advised to exercise caution due to brisk winds and locally rough seas. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, generally cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers over the southern Windward Islands and areas for the south. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy with a few showers. And the weather summary, the Atlantic high pressure system will maintain moderate easterly winds across the region during the next few days. Moist and unstable conditions will continue to cause cloudiness and shower activity over the southern Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. And this was the weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island Style. We got the style that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive. In island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus and Rodney Bay on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's gas station on the Library Viewport Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, if you want to call and tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046, as well as our WhatsApp number 284-6001. Let's go to the phone lines at this time to take in some calls. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today? How are you doing, sir? Very good, very good. He is very good as well. Thank you. If you had watched the Independence Battle Relay on Wednesday, you might have seen him. No. My son. Yes. No, he wasn't. No, he can't quite carry it as yet, no. But he was on the... No, actually, it wasn't me. I was pushing him as if it was. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it would seem so. It would seem so. Oh, well, quite a lot to take in. Oh no, they're not drinking. Mm-mm. Mm. Well, maybe things are drier now, so people drink a little bit more. Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Uh, That's right. Mm-hmm. 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 No. Right. Right. You could serve. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Very true. Yeah. Well, we in fact have a lot of communal, or if you like, community based systems, but it's just that they're run by the utility. Sorry? Yeah, like Del say, right? That area they still has an aqueduct, and they mostly for farming. They still run. Yeah, the Balambush area is another one. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yep. 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 Well, even this the storage of potable water, right, at people's homes is a challenge. It's hard to believe that but you have a lot of homes that are being built and they simply don't have any kind of water storage at drums, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. And it becomes an issue in terms of flooding, in terms of soil erosion. Yeah. Yeah. So in effect, it's also a flood mitigation measure as well. Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought you wanted to extend the overall capacity of the utility, yes, but also you wanted to extend the financial capacity of the utility as well. Yeah. So mm. I hope so too. But I think though you are getting a sense people it's a major issue. I think perhaps next to healthcare and crime, I think water is definitely up there in terms of being on a lot of people's minds. And even from the perspective of people who are looking at investment in major projects, they have to be thinking about that, certainly. Mm, true. First month of the year. Uh-huh. What, deportees and refugees and Mr. Trump? Oh, that one. Ah, well, yes, yes, yes. There's that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, it can be. I can tell you that. Yeah, yeah. No, it. You're right. You're right. But there's a psychology at play because if people are going to be in congestion, if you're going to be in congestion a lot, stuck in traffic a lot, and there's a whole thing about road rage. People get, they get upset, they get impatient, and so they now want to figure out, well, they have to take a shortcut, which is why a lot of people tell you that they prefer driving a longer distance on the back road, right? It might even take them a little longer, but at least they're moving in their minds, right? Instead of being just stuck in traffic. Some people are fine being stuck in it, but there are a lot of people who prefer otherwise. Well, I mean, there are warning systems, and a lot of these vehicles come with a lot of sensors now, and we a lot of people will tell you though that yes, we are almost in the age, right? Yeah, yeah. No, some of the vehicles do that. They sort of automatically apply a means to slow down. Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 It's true. It's true. It's true. I wonder if that's what a lot of these. So you're saying that some of these young people, they don't even realize that the vehicle's not going to slow down by itself. It's, you know they. Mm, that's true. It is true. It is true. It is true. But they are physical limits. Still, they are physical limits. So I think that's an important part. I guess we have to remind our young people um, that yeah, the minute that you want to save might be a lifetime that you've lost. So you gotta some I don't know about that, but I I think it's a message that we have to get across to a lot of the young people. I mean, we were all young, and we all young people wanted to have some level of excitement. I think that too is another thing too. A lot of them, they want to be racing, they want to be engaging in some of these types of things. Sometimes it's about impressing people, impressing their friends, and so yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks very much for that contribution, caller. Have a good one. You too. Thank you. And of course, in the midst of that, when we're losing so many more people as a result of these uh, events on the roads, and leading, of course, to higher loss of life. It's a major issue. I mean, so you're trying to improve on life and expectancy, and hopefully people will be living longer. But violence and traffic accidents are not helping in that cause. Uh, I think I just caught a glimpse of. In fact, I read the document, but more than a glimpse of the health summary that came out from the Ministry of Health for 2025. And one of the most concerning figures that I saw was that live births were under 1,400. I think it was 1,344 thereabouts, and that is a really low figure. I mean, right now we're looking at, I think last year for common entrance, they were, well, CPEA, they were, I think, about just a little under 2,000 students, 1,996 or thereabouts. And now you're looking at live births at 1,000, under 1,400. And I think that worked out to be, based on the data from the Ministry of Health, a fertility rate of 1.06. Now, the replacement rate is 2.1. 2.1 is the well-established replacement rate. So we had less than half of the replacement rate for the population right about now. So with deaths, deaths have been hovering around, I think, about 1,000 deaths per year. I'm not sure if that figure has crept upwards. It may very well have. But a net of about 400 in the population in a year is certainly not good enough, and that means, and of course, that the death rate is going to go up as your population is getting older, and that's the challenge that you've got right now. You've got a serious population crisis, which we definitely have to be speaking about. Many places around the world are talking about it. Many small islands are talking about it, and reversing it certainly has to be also one of the major challenges that countries like ours have to be dealing with in the years to come. That's our program for this week. And of course, we do hope that you have a very safe and blessed weekend. Just a little reminder that there's a Tipa Wall Creole that is on tomorrow at Bellevue, I believe from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can check them out for that. And as well, another Nobel Laureate Festival event, Creativity and Innovation Forum, storytelling and scholarship talkback session with Tatiana Ali, who you would have known from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She was Will's sister in that show. Well, she's in St. Lucia, and she is one of the leads on this Creativity and Innovation Forum, Tatiana Ali and Dr. Vaughn Raspberry, and is being hosted by Lisa Wickham. It's a digital creators hub, acting and expression circle, writers corner, talking about creativity and entrepreneurship. And it is for young people between the ages of 13 and 21, happening at the Pastoral Center tomorrow from 8:30 until 4:30. So a lot of great activities to take in over the weekend. And of course, the Independence Battle Relay continues. I believe they are down in Ancillary today, and we do hope that that continues to happen and to assist in bringing people out to enjoy their independence. That's our program. Have a great weekend. Take care.